What's up, guys? It's Nick from Arch City Poker, and in today's vlog, to continue the ongoing series of how to beat live low-stakes poker videos, I'm going to be talking about tells today. I'm going to be talking about physical tells, bet sizing tells, and then conversational tells. So we'll just get right into it with the physical tells. I think these are often very overrated, and I think that they've been highlighted by movies and television. Especially for players that that have never played before. Like anytime I meet a player or I meet a person, I should say, that isn't real familiar with poker or doesn't really play it, and they find out what I do for a living, then they say things like, "Well, you must be able to read people very well and be able to read people's tells and such." But I think, like I said, I think physical tells are very overrated. I think that they are definitely out there if you know what you're looking for, but for most of you, I think it's just going to be too much effort and a waste of time because there's so many other – I think there's other tells that are more important and other things that you guys should be thinking about, like range versus range and, if your range or your opponent's range are capped or uncapped. I think there's a lot of other stuff that you guys should be thinking about instead of looking for, like if this player's hands are shaking or if he bets confidently, does that mean he's weak and that type of stuff. I think that stuff's a little bit overrated. Like I said, I think there's some stuff out there. So – I think one situation, I guess, in particular that I'll mention that I think is a pretty prominent physical tell that players don't understand or realize that they do is, let's say that you're sandwiched in between the action. Let's say there's a player out of position in front of you to act, and he starts cutting out betting chips or he goes to bet. I call this the look left. Like I always then look left if there are players behind us in position that would be left to act, because a lot of times in these games, you will look left and a player will either be holding his cards like in, basically like he's gearing up to muck. So you know that he's going to fold often. They will often cut out calling chips without realizing that they're just giving away their plan right away. Sometimes they'll even grab bigger chips or sticks of red. Like I saw this one player just last week. He uncapped his cards to move it out of the way because I knew that he wanted to make room so he could fire two big shells of red. And that ended up being what happened. So next time you find yourself sandwiched in between the action and you know for sure that it seems like the player on the right he's either cutting out chips or he goes to bet, pay really close attention to at least the player that's very next to you to act on your left. Pay very close attention to what he's doing with his chips. Does he have his cards in his hand like he's ready to muck? I think that these players give away a lot of information in that situation, and that really helps you when you're sandwiched in between the action, because a lot of times you guys will err on the side of caution because of the player left to act behind you after the player on your right has bet. And I think that's probably smart because obviously if you don't want to be sandwiched in between the action, you're out of position, you have a player that has the initiative to your right. So just look left in these situations from now on, and you'll pick up a lot of information. So as far as bet sizing tells go, I think that bet sizing tells are the most important and prominent tells that you guys can look for in live low-stakes games. Even up through mid-stakes games and some of the higher-stakes games, there can be bet sizing tells, but they're not usually as prominent. I think players, when you get into those games, they understand that that they can't be so, I guess, transparent with their bet sizes. But in low-stakes games, this happens all the time. Like almost every session I've ever played pretty much. Bet sizing, like small bets into large pots, usually it is a very good indicator of absolute hand strength for your opponent. If you have a player that's betting fifth pot, like $10 to 50, they usually don't have a hand that's very high up in the range. If they bet very large in a spot, like they're betting pot or they're going all in, which is in a lot of scenarios more than pot, then that's usually a very good indicator of where they're at in their range. So I think just pay very close attention to bet sizing if you guys don't already. A lot of bets that are half pot or less onto like wet boards, or like into a player onto wet boards, I should say, or in spots where players should be more polarized, where they should have like more nuttish hands. When those smaller bets don't make a whole lot of sense, it usually just means that players have hands that they don't feel very proud of, hands that they don't feel comfortable check calling with, hands that they're trying to make like kind of almost like blocker bets, because they don't want to face a large bet when they check to the player. So pay very close attention to bet sizing tells. I think bet sizing tells are the most important tells as far as live low stakes poker go. The last type of tell is conversational tells, just straight up like table talk. And I actually just got done today playing a live 2-5 session, and this player, without knowing it, just gave away a ton of information about his strategy. So he was in the hand with a player to my right, and this player that I'm talking about specifically is across the table from us. And the player on my right checked back in a single raise pot as the pre-flop raiser. He checked back top pair in a gutter. And I don't remember who won the hand or how it went exactly, but they got to showdown, and the player across from the table, he says, well, why didn't you bet the flop? Like, he was flabbergasted. And you could tell that he was being very truthful, and he didn't understand. And the player to my right said, well, I don't know. I just wanted to check back top pair or whatever. Like, he gave some reasons or whatnot. But the player goes, well, you had top pair in a gutter. Like, as if to say that this player basically is never not betting top pair plus on any flop texture. So if you guys really think about it, on any type of flop texture, when this player checks back, then I can all of a sudden just start betting, I guess. I could go pot on the turn river and make this player fold pretty much close, like 100% of the time, which means that I can take any two cards that I want in my range exploitatively and basically just attack his very capped range at that point. Because if he checks back and flop, then that obviously means he can't have like top pair plus often. He's going to be capped to like second pair and then draws and air. So if you guys just start paying attention to the conversations that are happening around the table, a lot of players will give away their strategies based on comments they just make about other players' hand, that how another player played the hand. They will very truthfully, without thinking, just say what they would do in that situation, or they'll question what other players are doing. So you can get a lot of tells and a lot of reads on player strategies by how they comment on hands and basically just how they talk about the game at the table. So maybe instead of watching, whatever sports on the television they have in your poker room, or, listening to music one time, if you don't really know the players at the table that well, I would suggest trying to just pay attention to how they talk and get into some conversations with them. Those are, there's a lot of information out there that can really help you guys exploit these players. So that's going to do it for this vlog today. I hope that this info was valuable to you guys. And to kind of wrap it up, like I said, I think physical tells are a little overrated. They're out there if you know what you're looking for, but try the look left one as I suggested. I think that's a scenario where there's a lot of information given away. Bet sizing tells, as I said, are very, very often indicative of players' absolute hand strength. And then conversation, table talk. Pay attention to what people are saying. They will often give away a lot of information about their strategy. So that's going to do it for the vlog, like I said, and look forward to, I'm going to keep doing more like how to beat live low stakes poker videos. I think they're getting a lot of good feedback and a lot of traffic, so it seems like that's what a lot of the interested poker players are wanting on YouTube. So yeah, till next time.